it's not doing anything until we really come very close to the border. And you see here, that's why here it is 0. The system is not doing anything. But if we come close here to the left or right marking, then the system is applying a strong torque. Torque in French is moment. Donc, okay, then here the last function which I wanted to talk to you about is the so-called lane change assist. That means the function which is detecting or monitoring the blind spot. So basically here, as you say, the car is equipped with sensors which can look in these 4 directions, and by this detect cars which are coming from behind, and then depending on the system, either warning the driver. You see here the different types of systems in different cars, how they are warning the driver. Here, for example, you see Audi, how Audi is doing this with these lamps here, BMW, GM, and here different car manufacturers. And maybe some of you have seen already the new systems. They go in the direction of camera. They are changing the system by camera, by really putting a camera here which looks backwards and shows exactly what is going on, not only just with this mirror, but just by putting a camera and showing really the video which is captured by the camera. Okay, good. I hope with this I gave you a basic introduction of the so-called ADAS function. That means Advanced Driver Assistance System functions. That means functions which are aiming at improving some aspects, but separately. That means either improving the safety for the longitudinal control or the safety for the lateral control. But until that point, all these functions here are independent. They are separated. They don't work together. And this is what we call level 1 in the autonomous driving world. All these functions which we have seen are level 1. That means they are trying to automate the single aspect of the driving task. And of course, the main responsibility remains still at the driver side. That means when we talk about this ACC system, for example, the adaptive cruise control system, when we are driving 100 kph, kilometer per hour, with this system, and the driver accelerates, then the system ignores everything which is set by the system and takes the input from the driver. That means the driver has always the control. That means that when the driver accelerates, then the system will accelerate. When the driver brakes, then the system will brake. That means at that level, the responsibility is always at the driver side. And as you see here, also this is another view to show this. You see here the lateral control and the longitudinal control. Here you are only kind of automating the lateral control by the lane keeping and lane change systems. Here you are automating only the longitudinal control with the ACC and AB systems. And as soon as you start to combine those systems together, then you go towards automated driving. This is the whole idea behind. And this is here what you see. As soon as we start to combine those systems, we go to the autonomous driving, where the car is or will be able to completely drive by itself, because now we have both aspects. We have the longitudinal control and the lateral control. Let me see what were them. Okay, Salah wrote, sorry. Okay. Of course, you can write down your questions if you have some. Okay, that means here this is the main idea. The main idea is to say, okay, for automated driving systems, we have only level 1 systems, and as soon as we start to combine them, we can increase the level of autonomy. Let me also give you this definition, which is also important in the context of switching from advanced driver assistance systems to automated driving. So there is a famous professor in Germany who divided the driving task into 3 subtasks. And you can think of it, this is also what we do, what the human driver is doing all the time. If you want to go from A to B, first you have to decide about the navigation. You have to decide which road you take, which if you take highway, if you don't take highway, how to go from A to B. This is the navigation task. The second is the guidance task. Guidance means how to drive. That means we have now decided to drive in a highway, and then the guidance is to say how to drive according to the traffic situation. If we drive on the leftmost lane, in the middle, or in the right, depending, for example, if we are exiting the highway, this is what the guidance is about. The stabilization task is really what we do with the car, with braking and accelerating. That means at the end, each driving task is made of these 3 subtasks. Why I am saying this? Because for advanced driver assistance systems, mainly the driver is still taking care of these tasks. That means the driver decides by himself where to drive, and he decides by himself on which lane to drive. And more or less, the driver assistance systems are helping with this lowest task here, which is about setting the speed and making the longitudinal and lateral control. But if we want the system to take over the whole task of driving, in that case, we have also, the system has to be able to do also these tasks. That means the system has to be able to navigate and also to decide by itself how to navigate through in the highway, for example, to go from the left lane to the right lane. So that means these are new aspects which are becoming relevant now with the automated driving system, which means, on the other hand, this here, sorry, here is in German, but maybe it is a chance for you to learn some German words. Here, Umwelt means in German is the environment. That means here is the driving task, and on the other hand means what is needed from the environment to be detected, what we have to detect from the environment in order to be able to do this task. And as you see here, the corresponding level for the navigation here is the road network. That means we have to know the road network, we have to know where we have highways, how we can go from A to B. The second level, or the level below, which we need for the guidance task, is to be able to know where we have free space, where we have the road, where we have the lane markings, and where we have to understand the traffic situation. That means for the advanced driver, for the automated driving systems, they have to detect more from the environment compared to the normal advanced driver assistance systems. This is here another aspect, but it's a little bit complicated. But I will try still to explain it in a very simple way. So basically, here, the optimization target in the ADAS, that means right now. So the optimization target, that means when we are developing a system, what we want to do there, we want to maximize the performance. And how is the performance measured? The performance measured with in terms of KPIs. These KPIs are here described for those of you who did some classifications with machine learning. they probably know about this KPIs. But in general, let's say what is important for us here to know is the so-called true positive. Means true positive is the system has done the correct reaction. False negative means the system, we are expecting the system to do something, but the system is not doing that. Just think of it as, if we think back in the context of the EBA function, so emergency brake assist. If the system, if really we have a dangerous situation and the system does not recognize an object in front of us for some reason, for sensor limitation or performance issues, the system does not recognize the object in front of us, and there we are talking about false negative. That means we expect the system to do something, but it did not do because it did not detect that object. This is called false negative. This, in the context of advanced driver assistance systems, is still acceptable, kind of acceptable. Why? Because the driver is always in the loop and the driver has to take care. That means even when the system does not react, the driver has to react, because these systems have just a supportive aspect. They are just supporting the driver, but the driver has still the main responsibility. That means when in that case, when the system does not react, the driver cannot go to the car manufacturer and say, your system does not work well, I want money for this because of this problem, like most of the people do in USA, for example. But this will not work because by definition the driver has the responsibility. But if now we move to the automated driving, that means where the car has to do everything by itself and the driver is not requested anymore to be in the loop, then in that case these false negatives become not acceptable anymore. So that means here you see the so-called paradigm shift when moving from ADAS to AD, which makes the transition between ADAS and AD a little bit difficult, or too difficult basically, and which is leading to postponing the introduction of new automated driving system into the market, because well, for me as an insider, I know that already 5 years ago many people were saying, okay, in year 2022 or 2021 we will have the first systems in the market which will be able to drive by themselves. But then every time we dig deeper into the whole aspects, we find out that it's not so easy because of this kind of problematics, that we have to make sure that the systems and the sensors really detect everything and work properly. That's why this is postponing the introduction of automated driving systems to the market. Now we come to the so-called levels of automation. There is an SAE. It's a worldwide institution like IEEE for other aspects, but this institution is defining the levels of autonomy, and which is more or less accepted by everybody. Because previously this came, I think, I don't know, this came maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Before that, everyone was trying to use his own levels to describe the autonomy of his system, and it was too much confusing. That's why this institution introduced these levels, and they are kind of accepted by everybody. And what we can see there, we see the level 0, no automation. It's a normal car, does not automate anything. And basically here you see that all the tasks are done by the car, by the driver, sorry. That means accelerating and decelerating, steering, monitoring the environment, everything is done by the car. And as you see here, we try step by step to give partially for these tasks the responsibility to the car. And we have here in the level 1, which what basically level 1, this is the ADAS, what we have talked about now. All these functions are in level 1. That means this system is just supporting the systems in this steering and acceleration deceleration task, but still the driver has to do all the rest. He has to pay attention at every time, and he has to be able to take over when the system is not working properly. Now we move to the next level of automation. This is where I have said before, where we start to combine those functions, the lateral control and the longitudinal control. And in that case, the car is able to do the whole task, steering and acceleration, but the driver is still monitoring the environment. He has to know exactly what is going on, and he has to be able to take over the control at any time. This is L2. When we go further to L3, and L3, by the way, L2 is called partial automation because it's only partially automated. L3 is called conditional automation. What is coming on top compared to L2 systems is that the driver for some conditions does not have to take care of the environment, does not have to know what is going on, but he has to be able to take over if requested. And this is the problem in this definition, because how can you expect from the driver not to pay attention, but on the other side ask him to take over the control immediately? This is not possible, because if the driver is distracted or doing something else, he needs some time in order to understand the environment and then to be able to control the vehicle. And that was problematic initially until something new came, which defined exactly the period of time which the system has to give to the driver in order to take over. That means when the system tells the driver you have to take over as soon as possible, it doesn't mean that the driver has to take over immediately, but the driver has some time. And this time is not very easy to define, but is also depending on the situation and the system state. But at least they have defined this roughly, or as initial value, with 10 seconds. So they said, okay, when the system detects that there is a problem or the driver has to take over the control, that the driver still has 10 seconds to be able to understand the situation and take over the control. What does this mean for the system? That the system during these 10 seconds has to be able to continue driving, or driving in a safe way. Okay, what do we have here? Driving modes change from one level to another. Okay, let's continue this, and we will do a short break session, and then we can answer all the questions. Okay. Then what comes next is the level 4. The level 4 is the conditional automation. The difference is that now the driver is not required to act as a fallback or to take over control anymore. That means the system is even requested to bring the car in a safe state. This is the so-called safe state, even though the system recognizes there are problems. One concrete example of this, from design point of view, what the systems should do is, just imagine you have this kind of car driving on the highway, and then detects that there is a problem with the sensors, with the weather, it's raining or whatever, then the system has to make sure to bring the car to a state where the driver is not in a dangerous situation, and also the other traffic participants. And this situation can be either to just stop on the left side, which is not so it's not a good idea basically, but there are systems, at least from design point of view, who are able to detect the situation and change the lanes from left to the middle to the most right and stay there and stop there. And this is by far is a situation which is more safe than just stopping on the left side. This is here the difference between L4 and L3. That means even in case we have problems, the car has to bring itself to a safe situation, but in L3 the driver has to take over. There is here a fifth aspect which we did not talk about, which is the automated system is in control. Means it comes together with this new term, the operational design domain. Operational design domain means that the same car can be acting or working in L3 mode in certain conditions, but in other conditions only working in L2 mode. And just for you to understand this, the operational design domain can be, from design point of view, that we say our system is able to work as L3 system only on the highway. That means we restrict the conditions in which our system works, and we say, okay, it works only on the highway. And then in our case, the operational design domain is the highway. And in that case, we have here this level. When the car goes back to the normal street, not the highway, maybe it will go back to L2 or L1 level. This is the definition of ODD. This is also helping a lot to distinguish in which conditions the system works with which automation level. And as you see, basically this L5 system is basically science fiction, because it doesn't even have an ODD restriction. That means it should be, or it is intended to work everywhere. That means without restrictions. That means everywhere, every time, in all weather conditions. This would be the L5 system, and right now nobody's talking about this. So most of the companies are still busy with L2 or L2 plus, something between L2 and L3, and L4. That means L5 is science fiction. Here the definition of the operational design domain. It can be restricted geographically, as I said, the highway, or it can be restricted by the environment or time of the day restrictions. You can say, okay, my system works only during the day, not during the night, because of the light conditions and so on. This explains the whole thing again. I don't want to go too much into details here, but it's just showing the same thing which we have seen in a different way. Which tasks are taken over by the driver or by the car, and which ones are splitted. By the way, what we have talked before is bringing the car into a safe state is here, defined by the minimum risk maneuver and minimum risk conditions. Minimum risk conditions means, for example, staying or stopping the car at the most right lane. This is a minimum risk condition, and of course we need a minimum risk maneuvers to get from minimum risk condition to another. Just that we have seen that, and how is this defined from the ISO standards. By the way, this is where this 10 seconds coming from. Unfortunately, the text is in German, but this is coming from UN regulation, and this has really helped a lot to implement L3 systems. Here, exactly the same thing. It's just a chart telling you how to find out the level of a certain system. You start here, you say, okay, is the system able to do all the driving tasks without any ODD limitations? Then if yes, then it is a level 5. If no, then you ask again, you remove the ODD limitation and say, is it possible with ODD limitation? If yes, L4. If not, you go further and so on until you find out which level your system has. And here you see the split between the driver and the car. When we move here with increasing automation levels, you see here that the responsibility of the system grows and the responsibility of the driver increases. This we have said it again, but just what I wanted to say here, that there is a difference between classical car manufacturers like German car manufacturers and Tesla. Why? Because the classic companies, they started with L1 systems, like I have described them, ACC, automatic brake and so on, and then they tried to combine those to make automated driving. But Tesla did it differently. They started from the beginning with L2 system. Their goal from the beginning was automated driving, and this explains now why Tesla is a little bit far ahead compared to the other companies, because they don't have the problems of trying to combine things which exist since 20 years with the problems of the architecture, problems of the compatibilities and so on. They are doing everything from the scratch. Okay, here I think what I will suggest is that we go through this very quickly. Basically, this is something I found on LinkedIn, and I think it's really a great overview. This guy, I also recommend you to follow this guy on LinkedIn. He's really doing, he's always posting very interesting stuff. And here what he tried to do, he tried to summarize for the major companies in the world where they are, and what is then the plan, or what is their ODDs, or what sensors they are using, and what computing platforms, and the region, and so on. You see here, Mercedes-Benz has just released an L3 system in Germany, which works only on selected highways. That's why this is the ODD, is the selected highways, and they are using a LiDAR sensor in addition to the camera and the radar, and the computing platform is from NVIDIA. BMW, this is the project which I'm currently working on. We are now doing or preparing L2 Plus system, which has been already released shortly or some weeks ago in USA, and now working on the L3 system to be released to the market next year. And here are other guys from China. You see also that the China companies, until now, to be honest, I did not hear about them, but you see there's a lot of things ongoing here. They are also implementing L3 systems, and you see here that the rest is L2. And here, surprisingly, Tesla is still L2 system, because they pretending to do L3, but in fact they are doing only L2 systems because of unclear definitions of the system and unclear work split between the driver and the system. So basically, Tesla themselves, they say they have L3, even L4 systems, but third parties or other people from, especially from Europe, people from Europe tend to always say that Tesla is not too much far ahead. Yeah, but this is a little bit discussion point. Yeah. Okay. Now what I wanted to show you is two small systems, one from Tesla and one from BMW and one from Daimler. I will put it here. Okay, this is L2 system from Tesla. The system is able to do the longitudinal and lateral control together. It can do a lane change upon request. That means when you're driving and you say you put the lane change indicator, clignateur, the system is able to change the lane automatically. What is the problem of this system? This system can be kind of misused, because since the system is L2 system, it's always requiring that the driver is taking care, but they are just assuming this. They are not really actively taking care or making sure that the driver is sitting on the seat and also controlling the steering wheel. And what you see here in this video, that this guy is not sitting here at all and just putting some stuff here on the wheel, so that the car thinks the driver is putting his hands here on the wheel, and by this he was able to drive the car completely without being on the driver's seat. And this is not intended to be like this. That's why it's misuse. Okay, this is the L2 system from Tesla. The L2 system from BMW is also similar. Can do the longitudinal and lateral control, lane change upon request. And the difference is that this system is actively, by help of a camera, monitoring the driver. That means not only the hands-off detection, that if the driver is putting his hands on the steering wheel, is done better with the capacitive method. Capacitive method, that means like it works like the touch screens. That means that the system knows that you are putting your hands. That means if you put something there, like the guy from Tesla, it will not work. The system will recognize that you are not putting your hands there. And also, in addition, the system is monitoring the driver by the camera and making sure that the driver is taking attention. That is paying attention. That means even though when the driver is putting his hands but is looking to the left or the right or is not paying attention, the system will recognize this and will stop working. The third system is Daimler system from Daimler, and as you see here, this is the only system from my point of view which is L3 and which is already in the market. It is available on the highest category of the Mercedes cars. It is available on the S-Class from this year. So what is the difference here to the previous systems? What makes this system L3 system? So what they did here in this system, that they, of course, everything works in ODDs, in special conditions. That means in traffic jam situations. That means in embouteillage. And this system is actively monitoring the driver, even more accurate than the system from BMW, and the system is able to know exactly what the driver is doing. And the system is actively letting the driver doing some tasks, but not other tasks. That means the driver is allowed to read a newspaper, to check his phone, to eat something, but he's not allowed to sleep. If I ask you why, the question is very easy. It is related to these 10 seconds which we have seen before, because they say that if the driver is sleeping, then 10 seconds will not be enough for him to wake up, understand the situation, and take over the control. That means, and on the other hand, they say, okay, everything else which the driver is allowed to do, it is okay, because the driver can, if the system requests from the driver to take control, then the driver will be able to take over within 10 seconds. This is the main difference to the other systems. This makes the L3 system from Daimler the first system on the market. We have, unfortunately, 5 minutes left. I would have loved to talk to you about the other aspects, like the sensor technologies, but we can do a follow-up. You look here, you see here the different sensors which are used in the car. I wanted to go through a little bit with you through the technologies, especially the radar technology, which I'm a little bit familiar with, how the radar works, and then a lot of signal processing there, some examples of the radar systems, how the radar is integrated in the car. Here also I wanted to show you how the camera systems work, and some examples of the camera systems, how the laser systems work with the time of flight, some types of laser systems. Here you see an example of a laser system detecting the environment. Here you see some examples of some radar systems, and here a comparison of the sensor technologies. I wanted then also to talk to you about the environmental perception. That means what can we do with the data coming from the sensors. Here we can do the object-based representation. That means we detect the objects from the environment and try to describe each object with a set of attributes. Here I also wanted to talk to you about the object tracking using the Kalman filter. Here how the Kalman filter works. Here I wanted to talk to you about the occupancy grid, which is basically also used in robotics, and especially why we need both for the autonomous driving. And here we see how we combine both object-based and grid map-based. Here I wanted to talk to you about the fusion, how we can combine data from different sensors. Here also using Kalman filter and stuff, but the time, I think it was too short, but as I said, we can always plan a follow-up, and I think now we can have some 5 or 10 minutes for questions.
Merci beaucoup محمد، يعطيك الصحة. ولا it was nice معناتها. أنا ما عندي حتى شيء بالدومين التكنولوجيا، أنا خدمتابيليتي وكل شيء. But it was interesting to know the levels, شوية history. Bien sûr, man, it's not possible معناتها باش نتعلموا الدنيا الكل. الثيوري is important وإن شاء الله حتى pratiquement نجموا نعملوها الحكاية.
بالضبط.
ديجا كنت في تونس وخممنا ديجا في حاجات.
بالحق. Yes. Okay. What also I wanted to show, I wanted to give some recommendations at the end here. What techniques are used and on what parts we can focus. معناها هي شنو الحاجات اللي نجموا نحن نركزوا عليهم في تونس، اللي هما ما يستحقوش هاردوير، ما يستحقوش ديزيكيبمون. خاطر بار اكزومبل حكايات لي زونتين وحكايات لي كاميرا بصراحه معناها مازلنا بعاد شويه. معناها حكايتك مليمتر ويف رادار، انتنا، اوبتو الكترونكس، الاف بي جي ار، والحكايات هذوك مازلنا بعاد شوي. اما الحاجات الاخرى الكل من هنا معناها من رو داتا بروسيسنج، هذه سوفت وير معناها تنجم لي دوني تاخذهم معناها من الانترنت ولا سيمولاسيون ولا اللي هو، وتنجم انت تخدم على بارتي هذوما. هذه فيها برشا بوتنسيال كبير برشا. هذه الكل سوفت وير معناها نشوف فيه هنا. شنو اخر حبيت نوري هذوما معناها anyway I will share the slides. حبيت نوري هذوما اونلاين كورسز اللي هما ينجموا بالرسمي يعطوكم بالرسمي تنجموا تتعدوا بهم البالي اخر في الدومين هذا. هذه الاي دي اكس، كورسيرا، يوداسيتي. هذوما بالحق حاجات تنجموا، هذوما حاجات راهو كي تتعلموهم وتحطوهم في البروفيل نتاعكم، السي في نتاعكم، راهو بالرسمي تحل لكم برشا بيبان. راهو فما معناها كامبانيز يلوجوا بالحق على عباد عاملين الحاجات هذوما. معناها الحاجه الاخرى هذه اللي كنا باش نحكيو فيها زاد، حكايه كيفاش نقربوا لي كومبيتيسيون روبوتيك، كيفاش نردوهم قراب اكثر ما يمكن للدومين نتاع الاوتونوموس درايفنج. من هنا كيما تشوفوا لهنا فما هذه الجامعه في المانيا تيو برانشوايك، عندهم كومبيتيسيون تصير كل عام يجوها من اوروبا الكل. كيما تشوفوا لهنا لي سيتوياسيون ولي سيناريو معناها سون انسبيري من الريال وورلد، معناها باش تخدم على حاجات كيما بالرسمي في الاوتونوموس درايفنج، اللين ديتكشن، الاوبستكل ديتكشن، والترافيك ساين ريكوجنيشن، كل شيء. والقوه لهنا انك تنجم تخدم عليهم هذوما على شيل مينياتور، والترانسفير من بعد سهل برشا. معناها براتيكمون باش تستعمل نفس التكنولوجي. ولا بروف هوني هي في البوان هذه، التصويره هذه اللي تشوفوا فيه، هذه سيستم عملته الاودي للي زانجينيور نتاعها باش هما يجربوا به حاجات قبل ما يمشوا للكراهب الكبار. فهمت؟ معناها بالرسمي يخدموا على كراهب مينياتور على الديب ليرنينغ وحكايات هذوما قبل ما يسحقوا باش يعملوا سنسور جدد ويعملوا كرهبه جديده وكل شيء. دونك هذول الحاجات اللي حبيت نحكي لكم عليهم.
اي والله تري بيان، يعطيك الصحة وان شاء الله نقدموا معناتها. انا باهي تو نعرفش اللي فما شكون عنده ديجا اسئلة ولا دي كيستيون ديتايي ينجم يتكلم بيان سور.
فما عزيز سأل، كانت نجم تعاود السؤال نتاعك عزيز ما فهمتوش بالكدا، بالله تنجم تعاود لي كان مازلت لهنا.
سي بون جاوبني عليه ديجا.
اوكي ميرسي.
ميرسي عايش.
باش شنو اخر بس سينو شنو تحبوا نجم اي كان شير سلايدز، نحط لكم بي دي اف ونبعث لكم سلايدز. فما عندنا جروب في اللينكد ان مع اسمها Tunisian Autonomous Driving Community. بصراحه بهيش مازالت ماهيش اكتيف برشا، الماجوريتي نتاع العباد غادي معناها سون عباد معناها هكاكا بار كيوريوزيتي. انا بالحق جو بريفير نبدا فما عباد اكتيف ويحبوا بالحق يخدموا في الدومين هذاك علاش ماذا بيا انتوما كانكم العباد اللي انتريسي منكم انتوما يدخلوا في الجروب هذاك. دون I will share the link to the LinkedIn group. سينو نبقوا ان كونتاكت ونشوفوا شنو نعملوا ان شاء الله المره الجايه، مثلا نعملوا فولو اب ونكملوا فيه البارتي الثانيه اللي ما حكيناش عليها.
لازم كان فماش اسئله اوكي منعرفش بيان سور نعملوا مره فولو اب. العباد اللي انتريسي على الاخر نجموا نعملوا حكايه اون بلوس بيان سور في الحكايه روبوتيك ولا مع لاسوسيون اونسي ولا منعرفش نشوفوا نجموا نعملوا حاجه حتى براتيك ان شاء الله. الواحد يجم يشوف شنو يجم يعمل. كانك انت مره في توبي تو انت في تونس احنا ديما نحكيو على اللونغ تيرم، معناتها احنا ديما نحكيو على اللونغ تيرم. الحكايات كيما هذا كهول وكاب شنو نجم نعملوا في تونس.
The recording has stopped.
اوكي سينو لاينا زيد بيان سور نتصور اللي حتى محمد علي يمكن ساعات تسأل ولا حكايه. I think if someone is interested in الدومين نتاعو هو ديما واحد يعاون، حتى انا زيد بيان سور نعاون. اي واحد يحب حاجه ولا بي مش باش نحكيهم ديما نقولها مش باش نحكيهم في تونس في المانيا.
والله علاش لا معناها بالحق بعد نجم سي بوسيبل. لا معناها بالرسمي سي بوسيبل. انا بالحق معناها فما عباد فما شكون معناها من ديريكت من تونس.
اي فما اللي نعرف برشا دي موجودين، نعرف يعني شكون هنا في دي ديريكت موجود بيان سور. هيك هو ديما بيان سور سي بوسيبل. انا قلت برك انا مش نهبط
مش انت
برا اما وي حاولوا. انا نعرف توانسه ديريكت لقاو بواحد في تونس معناتها في ديريكت في المانيا. ممكن واحد ما يعرفش حتى واحد كان سوبر اكتيف وباهي وكل شيء ديما فاهم بوسيبيليتي بيان سور حتى واحد يريكومندي معناتها الحكايات هذم. as I said just work on it. حاولوا as much as possible تخدموا في الحكايات كان انتم انتريسيت في الحكايه هذه. كما قلت انا اون فيت نحاول نعاون في اي دومين اللي موجود. مع الجمعه اللي فاتت كنت مع رانيا نعملوا ايرو سبيس ونشوفوا شنو نجم نعملوا في الايرو سبيس. الجمعه هذه اون اوتونوموس درايفنج. الجمعه الجايه ما نعرفش
برافو صالح بصراحه ولا ديك
جماعه ايرو سبيس مش ايرونوتيك معناتها ديما نشوف حتى الانسات في الراست شابتر زادوا ما يحبوا يعملوا حكايه ايرونوتيك. انا اي حاجه ديما تنجموا تتصلوني. تحبوا تكونتاكتيوني بي حتى في الفيسبوك تنجموا تأديوني. كان نجم نعاون وي. I can't help everyone. It's not possible to help everyone but the community can help for everyone. Okay. سينو
حاجه او معناها بور اتر كونكري او باش نحط توا اللين نتاع الجروب في الشات هذا واللي ديريكت اللي يحب يدخل يبعث لي توا نشوف.
وكان واحد ديجا هو توا انتريسي في حكايه اوتونوموس درايفنج يعمل جروب ولا فولو اب ولا ممكن ان جور نعملوا حتى حكايه معرفش معناتها اكتيف ولا براتيك في تونس. واحد زاد يجم اما يكلموني انا بعد هكاك ديما انا نجم نشوف وبعد نتكلم مع محمد ولا تكلموا مع نعرفش جماعه الانسي مع ياسمين ايهاب وجماعه الانسات يجم نتكلموا زاد مع مريم سلطاني ولا مريم رداوي. جماعة جوجل ديفلوبر نعرفش اللي فما شكون موجود. كان فما واحد من جوجل ديفلوبر موجود يجب يكتب في الشات باش نعرف خاطر زاد كانوا 10 من الناس. يا سلموا على محمد امين. نايس جي حاجه مزيانه كلهم بنزرتيه باهي حتى انا امي وبابا بنزرتنا هكا ديجا. اما انا ما عنديش حكايه جورناليزم اما اتس كول ناو اتس جريت اللي انتم حتى. اما ماذا بيا ممكن اوكي فرح عجبتك اللمه اليوم ولا تحبوا ولا في الدومين نتاعكم اللي قاعدين تعملوه تعاونكم معناتها الحكايه ولا سيتي جوست انتريسون باش تعملوا حاجات اخرين. يس حبوش يتكلموا توانسه. يا بيان سور كانكم انتريسي ولا نجموا حتى نعملوا مع اي اسوسيون نجموا نعملوا حتى مره اخرى ميتينغ حتى صغير معانا نشوف شنو نجموا نعملوا and let's go at the end باش ندخلوا نشوفوا كيفاش احنا نعاونوا بعضنا في الحكايه هذه. يا سي بيان ميرسي. باهي جماعه مالا نقول لكم نعرفش كان ما فماش سؤال فماش حاجه. تفضل عزيز تفضل.
فما حاجه اخرى في الايروسبيس معناتها باش تعملوها مع كولابوراسيون مع كيما مع
ايروسبيس تحكي توا على طياره ولا على ساتليت؟
لا على ايفينمون يقصد.
على ايفينمون. شوف اون فيت ريت العباد الكل كي ريتهم وانا نجم نحكي لك بالحكايه هي ديما اون بوكل لما اتس امبورتانت تو شير. وي تنجم تكون معناتها انا مثلا راني يا جماعه اللي فاتت كنا سور بلاس احنا امونيك كانت الحكايه هذه. انا هي عملت حتى حكايه مره اون ليني مع الانسات صافي 2-3 سيمين في ان اوتر فورما. لي تروك سي سا كان هي عندها وقت. وي لي بوين راهو العباد الكل كيما انت توا انتم خارجين من تونس وان جور تقول له اوكي باش تحط الوقت باش تعاون معناتها نعاونوكم ولا انت تعاون هيك هو التخمام راهو. وي خاطر مش كل واحد ديما عنده وقت. اما اي ساعه كيما توا محمد هو عاون هو لمت الحكايه ومشيت. وي انا باش نحاول باش نعملوا حاجه ايروسبيس if it's on linear I can maybe one day معناتها احنا توا ديجا نحاولوا باش نتلموا جماعه الايروسبيس يعني في مونيك وان شاء الله 2-3 سيمين ممكن نعملوا شي لما حتى انترناشونالز. خاطر هيك الفكره معناتها ديما تعمل كونيكسيون باش حتى احنا نجموا نعاونوكم. لوتر شوز راهو انا مع تونس انتم ريتو تونيجن نتورك مونيك بكري. انا في مارس عملنا اون لينيا مع تونس مع الفضاء مع البريزيدون احمد فاضل وعملنا اونلاين ميتينغ وعطى فكره معناتها الحكايه هذه سيتي سوبر انتريسون زاده. نجم نقعد اون كونتاكت عزيز. انت شكون توا انت اون سي ولا
انسات؟ انا انسات.
انت انسات انت جماعه انسات. اوكي داكور. شنو تنجم تكتب لي شنو انت تحب في الحكايه ايروسبيس؟ انتم كان تحبوا تقولوا لي اي دومين ما نعرفش اي دومين اللي تخايلوا فيه ممكن نجم نحاول نعاون معناتها كان فما عباد. انا كيما قلت لك فما هنا 20 واحد عامل بي اتش دي. فما واحد اخر عامل بي اتش دي باش يعمل بي اتش دي في الاوتونوموس درايفنج كما رجع جميعهم. فما واحد اخر عنده عمل ستاج في عند تسلا عند ايلون ماسك وجاي عملنا ستارت اب. فما برشا عباد هما بلوز او موا اكثريتهم مستدعين بيان سور ساعات يعاونوا. اتس نوت بوسيبل. نعرفش باكو موتورز ممكن سمعتوا بيها زاد هنا هو من مونيك. ألفا كانون ممكن سمعتوا بيها تعاون برشا ليزونيفرسيتي في تونس وهي among the 2% best scientists of the world. شنو انا نجم نكمل لك انا الليسته الكل. عندنا شكون هنا في جوجل الدنيا الكل هما كنا مستدعين حتى باش نعملوا اون لينيا وباش نعملوا ممكن حكايه اون لينيا حتى مع جوجل. ويا ان what does mean انا نجمش I can't promise you everything. انا معهم العباد نحاول everything I will try. هذا هو كل اللي نجم نقول لكم. هذا البوان. اما نحاولوا we really interested. اوكي ونمشي نتعشى. امشي تعشى. امشي تعشى محمد. اوكي كان واحد يحب مازال يقعد هنا ويسأل ولا حب اي دومين مع عزيز نقعد ان كونتاكت ونشوفوا شنو نجم نعملوا ايروسبيس. اما انت شنو خممت في الايروسبيس؟
انا
شنو خممت في الايروسبيس بار اكزومبل؟ ما عرفتش.
لاني انا مغروم